Let's check out who was in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Kyle Kuzma, certainly in that zone, scoring 23 points, 17 in the second half on Saturday against the Rockets. But really, it was his defense on Russell Westbrook that was so key for the Lakers' win. This was actually a halftime adjustment suggested by Rajon Rondo, Coach Rondo.
Yep.
Kuzma held Westbrook to only 13 second-half points after Russ went off for 22 in the first half. Now, the Lakers also received some news this morning. Anthony Davis wasn't able to make it back for that Saturday night game, but he will play tonight after missing the team's last 5 with that bruised backside. Sort of where we're going with now. Kuzma has stepped up in Davis's absence, but now I think that trade rumor circulation is going to start all over again for Kuz. So, Coach, what should the Lakers do with Kyle Kuzma?
I think these last 5 games have been great for him because it gave him an opportunity to kind of take on a new role. I think the kid has a huge upside still, and you don't know what he can become in the next 3 months if they really figure out his niche. And I just don't know if you're going to get back something as valuable as he is in a trade. And so with those veterans that they have on that roster that can guide him and teach him and really make him understand winning basketball, I would stay with that kid. And I think in the playoffs, what Rondo did was not a short-term decision. That suggestion was not just for that game. Rondo's thinking about how do we win in the playoffs, how do we win a title. And Kuzma's going to have to defend in switching situations, small guards, athletic guards.
This seems like it's probably a really important decision for the way the Lakers to discuss their short-term future. I think they probably feel a lot like Coach says, which is a player that they would trade for is probably not going to have the upside at all that Kuzma would have. I think the player that you would trade for may be able to help you win a championship this year more than Kuzma potentially could.
Sure.
That, LeBron's not getting younger. I mean, if you can win a championship this year, do you look to upgrade? I think the one thing that the Lakers have going for them that other teams in this situation would not is they are such a draw for free agents. So whether it's a Darren Collison or if it's an Andre Iguodala if he becomes a free agent, they have other ways that they may be able to beat other teams than in the trade market. And that may be a little bit of a gamble to assume that you're going to be able to get a free agent who comes to you, but I think it's safer for the Lakers to play that game than another team who would have this exact same position.
It's a gamble because, first of all, the Clippers are out there beating the bushes for the same thing because neither team has a lot of assets to give up. And also it's a gamble because Andre Iguodala might not be bought out. He might not be available. A team may come to Memphis. They have held on to him for this long. Some team may come to them and say, hey, we'll give you a second rounder for him. And there's no reason for Memphis not to do it at that point when they get to that 11th hour. And then maybe he's a Philadelphia Sixer again. Like, who knows what's going to happen to Andre Iguodala? Who knows if Darren Collison's actually going to want to come back and play? That hasn't happened yet. So I do wonder if you depend on that buyout market too much, but they don't have that much to give.
And the other thing is when AD is playing, Kuzma's role is just diminished. It just is. It's not anybody's fault. They got a Hall of Famer who's playing in front of him. That's just the situation.
But I think they're going to figure out how to tweak those rotations and those lineups to where they can highlight Kuzma more as they move forward. So, as AD gets out of the game, you have Kuzma on the floor, and now you start to highlight him in different ways. And I think they can start evolving his role a little bit more. But I just think kids like that, they take jumps during the season. They get better during the year. And
especially
he's got
since he
that
couldn't play much this summer because he had the injury.
He missed, how many games did he miss already?
No, he's missed several chunks,
and so,
too.
Just getting his feet, underneath him first was the most important thing. And now he's got to start establishing that role and what he's going to become. But I just think they have too many intelligent guys around him, guys that's one big. That's going to seep into him, and I think that he can really help them in the playoffs.
Well, look, that's the best case scenario for the Lakers, right? Is that if Kuz evolves to a point where why would they ever trade him, right? The idea that if they can keep what they have without having tried to scrounge up more assets or make more win-now decisions, if he can evolve into what they absolutely need, that's great. That's what you want. It's just a question. He's not quite there yet. The fit isn't quite there yet, so we'll have to see if they're willing to bank on that because the trade deadline is only 3 weeks away. All right, Saturday night on ABC, you can see more of the Lakers. They'll be in Philly when they take on the Sixers. Our coverage begins with the jump at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. That's also on the ESPN app. We'll see you there. Coming up, Coach Fizdale will let us know how his former team in New York can get better from here forward. We'll talk about players he's excited about. And, what were you thinking kind of things. You need to stick around for this. Woo! I'm Rachel Nichols. Our insider Brian Windhorst is here. And yes, former Grizzlies and Knicks head coach David Fizdale back on set with us.
Thanks for having me.
We are thrilled to have you.
Happy to be here.
I love your greatest hits playing there. There will be more sitting at this desk. He is not afraid to speak his mind. And I'm thrilled to have you here anytime, but particularly as we honor Dr. Martin Luther King today.
Absolutely.
You have taken many players to the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, and you've also written very eloquently on Dr. King, what he did for America, but also how much of his work is still yet to be done.
Yeah, I just think that we can never forget what he was trying to accomplish and what he was trying to get done, especially in today's times. I think his voice is still speaking to us from the grave.
Absolutely. That message needs to continue. Coming up, we will look back at Fizz's tenure in New York City. Oh, yes, and how we got to where we are today. You're not going to want to miss that. First, though, today is the deadline, people. The last day the NBA will let fans, media, players vote for who should start in the All-Star game. You have up until 11:59 Eastern time tonight. After that, your ballot turns back into a pumpkin. So where are we? Well, here are the latest fan returns. Remember, you get 3 front court players, 2 guards from each conference. So in the West, it's LeBron, AD, and Kawhi, with Paul George and Nikola Jokic on the outside right now looking in. And at guard, Luka and James Harden with Dame Lillard and, yep, the Lakers' Alex Caruso knocking on the door there. In the East, the fans picked Giannis, Pascal Siakam, and Joel Embiid up front, with Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum still trying to elbow their way in there. And at guard, Trae Young and Kyrie Irving, with Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose still trying to get in. Now, before you get all up in arms about any of these names, complaining that it's just a popularity contest, remember 2 things. Number 1, this literally is a popularity contest, which is okay because All-Star isn't all NBA. It's not MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, we want to select the best players, but within that, there should be a little extra weight on who thrills and entertains the most, because that is what All-Star is actually supposed to celebrate. And then number 2, don't get all crazy about the fan vote because only counts for 50%. That change was made a few years ago when internet voting flooded the ballot box and Zaza Pachulia was nearly named an All-Star starter. So now, fans get 50%, the media gets a 25% say, and the players have their own vote for a 25% say as well. Which sounds good, although the players also don't have the best track record. Some don't vote at all, some vote for their friends. Last year, Kevin Love got votes despite having played in just 4 games. Ben Moore also got a vote, and if you're saying who, it's because he's a two-way player who has never scored a single point in his NBA career. Still, overall, I am good with the 50%, 25%, 25% split. It keeps any group of us from being too dangerous. My problem is the front court, back court designations. Paul George, listed as a forward on your ballot, even though the Clippers have listed him at guard the majority of the times that he has been in the starting lineup. Jimmy Butler can only be a forward on your All-Star ballot, which means he probably won't make the cut as a starter this year. That is a little bit insane considering he is the unquestioned engine of a Miami team that's number 2 in the East, and also considering what he actually does on the basketball court. You cannot tell me he does less than those traditional guard type things than, say, Ben Simmons, who is listed at that position, or Jaylen Brown. And oh, by the way, there's LeBron. You know, the guy who takes the ball up the court for the Lakers and leads the league in assists. You can't vote for him at point guard, though, because, yeah, I actually don't know why. In this era of the NBA, positions are at best blurry and often just non-existent. All-Star voting needs to catch up so that when the All-Star game tips off and there's that great panning camera shot of what's supposed to be the 10 biggest stars of the league on the same court, you actually get the 10 biggest stars. That's the goal here, and it shouldn't require a fairy godmother for it to happen. Coach Fizz, if you were the king of all things, there was no 50-20-25 split. It was just about David Fizdale's choices. Give me your All-Star starters.
All right, so they got it right. The fans got it right on the West.
Okay.
I think Harden, Luka Doncic, Kawhi, Bron, AD. I think that's your starting lineup out West. But I agree with you. Jimmy Butler is a starter in the East All-Star game. He's listed at the wrong position. He should be the starting 2 guard on the East. And then to me, I think it's between Ben Simmons and Kemba Walker as the point guard. But the other 3 guys, absolutely. Antetokounmpo, Siakam, and Embiid, they all deserve to be starters. But again, I think Jimmy Butler is the one that's being left out of this.
So you can't put him where you'd want to put him, so you put Kemba Walker and Ben Simmons in your 2 guards.
He basically just violated the rules. by changing the game.
Well, no, he put in it by the
But
rules.
it'll
but
be
he's saying that he
Kemba
was
and Ben
like,
Simmons under the certain
Yeah.
rules. But I just think that there's just no way Jimmy Butler shouldn't be starting. You're the number 2 team in the East. You're the catalyst of the team. You're a two-way player. To get that young team to where they are and him being the leader, he should be the starter in the East.
So could you knock one of the forward starters on your list there out for Jimmy?
I can't, because those other guys, they really deserve it, and that's their position.
Right.
And so I just think it's fair to them that they get to be listed at their position. I just feel like Jimmy Butler is a 2 guard in our league, and he should be listed as a 2.
Yeah, technically, Duncan Robinson is listed as the Heat's starting shooting guard, which, if you watch them, it's not really true. He plays small forward, but it's sort of a gray area. To me, Rachel, the only place where this was tough in the media vote was that East guard, because you can't put Jimmy. So the difficulty is, who do you give the 2 guard spots to? As Coach Fizz was just talking, I'm going to go with Kemba in one. I went with Bradley Beal as the other one.